So many of you have been patiently waiting to hear, and I am finally here to announce that the Get Loose Society has reopened for enrollment. If you don't know about the Get Loose Society yet, this is a special community for people who are thinking about going after the life they want and taking control of their career while they're at it. If you are hoping to launch a business or start to freelance so that you can do work that brings you more purpose, if you want to say goodbye to your fears, move past them, focus on those exciting projects that make you want to jump out of bed every day, and while you're at it, not be super concerned about how in the heck you're going to make it for your mortgage, your rent, and of course, those groceries, right? All of these things matter. What we do in order to mobilize them matters. And that is why I started the Get Loose Society, to help people like you to launch this vision. We previously opened and I shut it down to a small exclusive group of people so that we could really get our bearings and get going. And now I've opened it back up again because it's been going so well. And we have some very, very exciting developments. First of all, I have recently become a Book Yourself Solid certified trainer. I'm so excited about this. I'm a huge fan of Michael Port and the Book Yourself Solid methodology. So we are teaching all about this and how you do this for yourself and in your services-based business in the Get Loose Society. Not only that, there are now multiple membership levels available. So not only do you have the entry level, which is at a very affordable monthly fee to choose from, you can also join a very exclusive group of people who will be in tier 2 with me. So taking those trainings into consideration as you also meet with me twice a month in a group Zoom chat to talk directly about your business, your potential venture, and all of the intricacies and current challenges that you are dealing with. So there's a lot to choose from here. I wanted to make sure that you're one of the first to know Detail Therapy because I know there's so many of you who think about going after the life they want and making a career happen on their terms. If that is you, definitely check out all of the details over at thegatloosesociety.com. That's the TheGatluw society.com. There are only a few seats left in tier 2 because I want to make sure we keep it intimate and exclusive. So jump in and find out if it's the right fit for you as soon as you can at thegatloosesociety.com.
She's an award-winning YouTuber and best-selling author obsessed with helping you go after the life you want.
I like it.
Join her as she seeks out the stories and strategies.
Give me every little detail.
Of extraordinary people who found success.
I'm going to get emotional. Oh my God.
Welcome to Detail Therapy with Amy Landino.
Good morning, good life. Welcome back to Detail Therapy. In this episode, we're going into the details about knowing what it takes to start your business. Do you have what it takes? Do you need to have certain qualifications before getting started? How do you handle people who don't support you along the way? This is a big one. And what can you do to just get started? If you're new here, hello, my name is Amy Landino and I will be your host. I'm the founder of Gatlu House, a resource dedicated to helping you go after the life you want. As your productive lifestyle and success coach, I'm here to help you achieve your full-time freedom. You can find out more details about our work, including videos, books, coaching, and the show notes for this podcast by visiting detailtherapy.online in your browser. If you're listening to this podcast, you've probably found yourself questioning lately, maybe I do have what it takes. Maybe I could do it, especially these days when we see how many people are really running their business very scrappy, not just from a bootstrapping standpoint, but geez, we're watching people with these really funny looking backgrounds on their Zoom calls, and it's actually kind of working for them. You guys know what I'm talking about, right? It's those like green screen looking things. I'm actually here for them. Anyone who does that and really is intentional about what their background is because they don't want people to see the mess that could be behind them, that is a step in the right direction. That is being a professional. It's actually so crazy to me the number of people I know in my personal life, whether it's a board that I sit on or it's a distant relative that is deciding to take the jump in 2020 to run their own business, because we realize as we sit here with our families, sometimes staying home so that we can avoid the virus, and just sometimes just reflecting on what's happening in the world and how we feel about it, that we really can get more time back in our lives if we were able to decide how we make money and how that happens so that we can pick and choose what we do with our time. Now, that sounds like the dream, right? You don't just go right away into this magical space of, I'm going to do whatever I want, whenever I want, and I'm going to make lots of money at it. But it doesn't mean it's not possible if you have your head in the right space. And so if you're thinking about this, you're not sure, and it's because you haven't navigated the real basics when it comes to how do you actually get started? What are the things that are going to be helpful to make that happen for you? That's what I wanted to chat with you about today. So let's break this down, because so many businesses look different, and the idea of business might feel really big to you, or it might be something that's within reach if we just kind of explore this. It may not be like your friend's pizza shop down the street. It could look completely different from that. It could require a lot of time. It could require less time. So let's unpack this. First, this is for the people who are very much of the mentality that they want to clock into work and then they want to clock out of work. So if you're the clocker inner, clocker outer, here's what I have to say about that. I don't think that's a bad thing. You probably are expecting me to be like, well, don't go into business. You know, that probably is actually the case. You probably shouldn't go into business if you're very much a clock in, clock out person. Doesn't mean that it is a bad trait, because it actually is really powerful when you can separate business time versus personal time. The tough thing is when you're first kind of starting it, hopefully it's something you're excited about. And with that being the case, it might be very blurry lines of clocking in and clocking out. And if you work from home, you're going to be doing it a lot on your time and in your space. And so you'll forget, it's dinner time, or, I got to spend time with the kids. The kids are home from school. There's going to be blur there. It doesn't mean that just because you are really all about that clock in, clock out life that you wouldn't be good in business. But if you feel that way and therefore you have not started the concept of working for yourself or starting a side hustle or coming up with different business ideas that could be powerful enough to help you leave your job, it's probably not going to be a good fit for you, because you're looking forward to the future where it might be easier to scale your time. You've hired more people, you've got more resources, or you've been able to charge enough for your time that you don't have to take on as many clients, and you can really clock in, then clock out with them, spend less time working to make the same amount of money. It still takes time to get there. There's a lot of work to do in the meantime. So you've got to be aware of that. It's not that you cannot go into business when you're very good at the clock in and the clock out. But hopefully you'd be willing to change your feelings on that or work with it differently, because maybe that feeling is only true to you at this moment because you're not happy about what you're doing. You're not happy with the work that you're doing or who you work for. And that is what is making you very good at compartmentalizing clock in and clock out. Some people are, some people aren't. So I'm just overgeneralizing here. But again, very good to be able to detach, very good to be able to separate church and state. But when you first start, it's gonna be a crazy road. And you've got to be ready to turn on that business hat when you can as you're trying to navigate this space. Again, having those boundaries is great. Making sure that you tell your family, listen, this is something that's going to look very different and I am going to be spending a lot more time on it. And there's going to be moments where I really need to focus and I need everyone's cooperation. What does that look like? And here's how I'm going to give back if you give me that. And I will be able to clock out at some point. But when you are a business owner, you really are thinking about this all the time. As a matter of fact, if you don't have a significant other who's interested, they're probably going to get sick of you talking about it all the time. And it is what it is. Know it going into it. You are not taking the worst risk in the world by starting a business, but you're also not a gift from the skies because you're doing it either. You've got to stay humble. You've got to keep working. And if you want to be able to clock in and clock out of your business, you better know how to work with people in a really helpful and efficient way, especially your team, because they will be the support that you need in this adventure. But at the beginning, we just got to get those checks coming in, right? We just got to get the clients. We just got to start learning, what does this business structure look like? What am I good at? Who do I want to work with, etc. So very important to consider. Not a bad thing to be the clock in, clock out type, but there's a time and a place. Next, I want you to think about one of the most vital things. This is probably top of the list. If you have this inherently in your heart, in your soul, in your mind, you will be great in business because your head, your mind, your heart, all of those things will be in the right place. You will be great. You will have what it takes to go into business for yourself if you are interested in other people. Are you interested in helping other people? Let me break this down, introverts. If you don't like other people, we're probably already finding that that's a problem at some point. And I'm saying this as an introvert, okay? I know when to clock into people time and clock out of people time because I need to rehabilitate my body, okay? I don't love being around people all the time. I don't love being on all the time, but I respect that about myself and I work with it. If I didn't actually care, no matter how much interaction I actually enjoy, if I didn't actually care about individuals and what they're doing and how I can help them and what I know that they need to know that I really want to teach them and help them with, if I didn't have that, I would not be able to go into business for myself. You'd probably barely be able to keep a job, quite frankly. Maybe you've been skating by, hating people in a job. But if you cannot learn about people, understand that psychology is going to come into play because we're talking about sales and we're talking about marketing and these dirty, yucky words that we are going to humanize and make it more natural for you so that you can grow. You still have to want to inherently be interested and curious about people and how you can help them. You will be in the business no matter what you do. No matter what you do. I'm telling you this, I don't care what your business is. Unless it's an illegal business, okay? If it's an illegal business, it won't be true, I don't think. But if you are in business, you have one objective, period, and that is to solve problems. You solve problems. The only way to solve problems is to be interested in people and what those problems are and wanting to hack and reverse engineer how you could solve them and how that's related to what you do. You don't solve every problem, which is why you don't target every human on the earth to be your client. You solve certain problems for certain people and you specialize in that and you rock at that and you're the number one at that. That is the goal. So you have to be interested in helping people. That's very, very important. This is the other big thing. You've got to help even if there's no direct return. I said you solve problems for very specific people, right? And that's what you specialize in. But there may be times where it just pays to be helpful in general, even if being helpful means I don't do that, but I know somebody who does that. Let me connect you to them. Be the connector, be the rock star, be helpful, even if there's no direct return. Maybe you got someone else a client. Maybe you just helped a couple of people in general. Every time you flex that muscle and you get better at helping and more thoughtful, you are on your way to being a very powerful business person. Next, you've got to be willing to think outside of the box. And tell me about it, Amy, how much you love to think. I am a box thinker sometimes, I'm telling you. And what I have realized is our favorite Jim Rohn quote, right? You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So if you are spending time with a bunch of box thinkers, then you're probably not going to get outside of your box very often. People who only poo-poo ideas, people who are sad about life, people who think the government is the entire answer as to whether you're going to be a success today or you're going to be a complete failure. People who just don't have vision. When you surround yourself with them, even if you try your darndest to get outside of that, it's going to hinder you. You've got to be willing to think outside of the box. So this really goes to that conversation about, well, what do I do during that time when people don't understand? Let me give you a little spoiler alert, my friends. If this were easy, everyone would do it. And everyone is not going to understand for a very, very long time. Sorry, not sorry. People are not going to understand. Even when, I'll give you an example. You published a book? Whoa. That's something that they can understand. They can put that in a box, like author. I can put that in a box. I can understand that. Well, if she's an author, that must be legitimate. So I can be happy for her now. Congratulations, Amy. That's amazing. You're an author. Cool. But up until this point, when I've been doing all the work to come up with the content for a book, to test it on audiences, to help people in real time and work for myself and do you didn't understand now. But now that we've slapped author on there, you get it. This is going to be your whole career. Okay. I'm sorry. Even if you own the pizza shop that everybody loves, they're not going to understand when you work late. They're not going to understand why you keep that difficult employee on because you just really care about them, even if they kind of suck. They're not going to understand. They're all going to have better ideas than you. And I like to use the quote from The Crown in this case when the Queen says, I realize that I am surrounded by a bunch of people who think the crown should have landed on their head, and yet it's on me. So how about I make the decision and how about you respect it? Because guess what? It literally doesn't affect you. And maybe in the Queen's case, that's not always the case. But for you, that is probably the case. Now, when is it not the case? When your direct family, the people that you support, or the people who, like maybe your parents, like maybe you owe them money or something. Maybe you've got people who are holding you accountable and they think you should be doing things a certain type of way, and therefore you should listen to them. Okay, that's fine. You may have yourself in a sticky situation where your husband doesn't think it's the best idea ever, or your kids have a very expensive school, or it doesn't matter what the case is. Regardless of what all those are, you're probably in this situation right now because you are trying to better yourself, because you are trying to solve your own problems, because you are trying to thrive, not just survive. So can we let everyone else know that that's the intention here, that we are not just flippantly making this decision. We realize the gravity of it and that we can handle it. And that's because we will. Now, you need to show that with your actions. That's probably going to be a difficult conversation. I don't know if I'd take the same tone that I just had with your family, but you get what I'm saying. There's going to be moments that happens, and you're going to have to understand a little bit of philosophy and stoicism so that you can say, I hear you. I respect you. I am not taking that particular path at this moment because I am going to do this thing that I believe in. And I'm going to show you that even if it is not the most brilliant idea ever, it is going to send me down the right road. And I'm going to be able to take many different turns down that road. And also, finally, I'll say on this, guys, I'm sorry. I know I say and also a lot because I have a hard time ending sentences. I do realize you probably know that about me by now. You don't have to have that conversation with everyone. Do you hear me? Take that in, please. You don't have to have that conversation with everyone. There are a select few people on your life board of directors that have earned the right to that conversation. It doesn't mean they've earned the right to having the right answer. This is your life. You could be gone tomorrow. It wouldn't be up to you. This is your life. There are people who have earned that conversation and there are people who haven't. And either way, it is your call. So you got to be willing to think outside of the box because this is going to happen a lot. Next, I want you to accept that you don't have to know all the answers in order to start. You do not need a certification right away. You do not need qualifications. Let me tell you a little story about me. Everyone thinks I'm just like showed up on the scene with all my bags packed and put together perfectly folded. Okay, that's not true, honey. I've been in debt. I went to school and didn't like it and didn't finish it. I got all kinds of things going on over here that were not perfect and beautiful and ideal and photography worthy, okay? And that's life. That's life. It's about what you do with it. It's about what you learned from it. So when I said, crap, I went to school for poli-sci, I quit, and then I quit actually because I already had the job. This is back in 2008 when nobody was getting jobs and I was freaking out because I was like, all my friends that are graduating college are not getting any jobs. I happen to have one, but I can't finish my degree because I'm kind of busy between the hours of 9 to 5 doing a real job. So I found myself in this conundrum and I decided to quit school because I already had the job and it just seemed so silly. Like I can go back and get those silly credit hours later on, but I have a 401k. I got a good boss. I got a great place to work and I'm making money and I'm doing what I was supposed to do for the most part, except for that. So I stayed. And then I fell out of love with it. And I found another purpose. I found another passion and I was obsessed on a level I could never have imagined I would have ever felt about anything. I'd never felt that way before. And I said to myself, well, what am I going to do now? Go to school for it? Are you kidding me? Who's teaching social media marketing in college in 2009? Nobody. I mean, maybe a couple people, but it's usually teachers who were unpaid and offered a session by another teacher who was like, can you teach my kids about this? Because I have no idea what they're talking about. Back then, no one's talking about it. What am I going to do? Go to school for that? Go to school for communications? Communications from what? I already was learning something that wasn't being educated in college. So guess what? I don't have that degree. And I had to grapple with that when I was going full time, leaving a cushy job to start my own venture, try to convince my future clients that, listen, I don't have a degree in this. I have absolutely zero track record whatsoever, but you can trust me. They did because I was just honest about it. And yeah, I worked for free because I needed to earn it. I didn't work for free for very long because I was smart, but I worked for free when I needed to. I worked for trade when I needed testimonials. I worked so that I could prove I had what it takes. I didn't need a piece of paper from an institution that is just another business model that actually isn't going to do anything to benefit me. I'm sorry, I'm not going to go on my education tangent today, but I didn't get that. I just did the work. That's my situation, okay? There may be, if you want to start a law firm, you should probably finish getting your law degree first, okay? There's going to be exceptions to the rule here. And there's probably great certifications that you can get for your line, but it is not what you have to do to start. If you wait because you are not certified, then you are putting yet another imaginary barrier in front of you that is allowing you to take your time, which is called procrastination, which is worrying about something later because you think you have the time and you don't know that. Feel me? You do not need to know all the answers. You do not need to have the certifications. There's online education everywhere for everything for everyone now. If it was like this back then, I think I would have had even more confidence. I know you have what it takes if you can listen to this podcast, because it also means that you can go and you can seek out the education that you need, but you don't have to wait until you've taken some arbitrary program to get started. You should be executing that information in real time with what you're wanting to do. So start the business now. You don't have to wait to leave your job for it. You don't have to wait until there's this perfect moment. You got to start now or you won't start ever. And that takes me to my final point for whether or not you have what it takes. You've got to believe in yourself. And I'm not going to sit here and say that I graduated to unlimited belief in myself. Guys, it doesn't exist. It doesn't. But you got to try, and you have to do whatever it takes when you know that too many things are pulling you away from that possible belief in yourself. You have to put yourself in the right immersive environments, putting your earbuds in, listening to this podcast, watching a YouTube video, joining a conference online, taking a course online, doing what, if someday we can go to a networking event and having efficient conversations with people that are safe, do that. Surround yourself with the right people in the right spaces and have those conversations that are interesting, like the ones about ideas, not the ones about people, not the ones about events. The conversations about ideas are the ones that are going to fuel you to find out if you have any belief in yourself whatsoever in your particular area, in your particular field, in your particular direction of where this path is going. You have to be persistent. That's it. You're going to fail a million times. We all do. I have failed many YouTube videos. I have failed many podcasts. I have failed speaking engagements. I have failed pages of my books. I have failed and failed and failed, but I am failing forward. And that is what I want you to do, because every time you fail, you tried. So many people can't say that. So many people can't say they've even tried because they're thinking so hard about it. I don't want that to be you. I want you to be persistent. I want you to get a little embarrassed sometimes. It sucks, but guess what? You learn from it. I hate being embarrassed. I hate making mistakes. We had a huge mistake on my register. It was a huge mistake in the planner. I apologized profusely to the people who purchased my planner. And they were like, really? It's fine. And you know what? Do you know why that worked out that way? It could have been worse. It could have been an actual terrible thing if I wouldn't have blown it up in my head as much. But it was because of number 2. I have genuine interest in helping people. I am interested in solving problems. I am here for you, so I am persistent. I am persistent, and I will get the job done, and I will show up in the best way possible. I know a lot of what we've talked about is a hard conversation to have because, yeah, some of the things are things we need to say out loud to others. Some of the things are things we just need to say to ourselves, and it can be difficult. I'm not going to sit here and say that this is not difficult. It is. But if every day you can wake up, lift your head off the pillow, win number 1, step your feet on the ground, and even if you're a little groggy and kind of wish you could sleep in, be able to say that you are at least a little excited about what you're about to be able to go and do that day versus what could be, building someone else's dream, working somebody else's hours and under their constraints. That's a big win to me. That says that this was the right decision for you and that you are willing to put in the work and do the thing. And if you're listening this far, I think you can do it. One of the things when it comes down to getting started is just understanding your foundation. In the Get Loose Society, this is where we facilitate a space for ambitious women who are wanting to create their full-time freedom, to go after the life they want, to better support their families and actually end up with more time and probably more money. I recently became a certified Book Yourself Solid coach. I'm a huge fan of Michael Port and the book. It has made massive advances in my business. And that is what we're talking about over in the Get Loose Society. And we just finished all of the trainings about building your foundation. And a lot of these things people don't do when they first start their business. They just jump into the whatever they do know. But these first 4 steps really do help you so much to make sure that you kind of have an idea of how to get started. First, we really dive into your red velvet rope policy because guess what? You are an amazing resource that offers an amazing service, and only certain people should be able to work with you. And yes, you can turn people down. And that's what we have to work out. How do you develop that red velvet rope policy. Next, we got to talk about why people buy what you do in your target market. What's the difference between a target market and a niche? How do you use that information to differentiate yourself and know the difference between the two? Because they are not the same thing. Very, very important. We also talked about the basics of a personal brand, because we all have a personal brand, no matter what that business is. You're not going to hide behind a logo. Not everything has your face on it, but you are very much involved, and that is so important. And then we also talked about how to talk about what you do. This can be such a weird conversation, right? When you go into one with someone and they say, "What do you do?" And you're like, so many things. And you just like rationalize all this list of things you do. You've got to be able to describe yourself concisely. You have to be able to say how you are helpful and how you make a difference. So we help you to formulate that information. I'd love for you to find out more about the Gatlu Society. Very easy to do. Head over to the Gatlu Society, TheGatluw Society.com, and I will link to it in the show notes to find out more if this is a good place for you to join us. We have been doing trainings every week through the end of the year, except for a couple of weeks for holiday vacation, just so you can be fully set up in your business so that you can hit the ground running for a fabulous 2021. I also do regular mindset trainings so I can help you stay confident in your work. I bring in rock star, fabulous experts for fireside chat. So there's a lot of fun stuff going on. It's a membership group that you can cancel at any time, and we are having an absolute blast. So check it out, thegatlewsociety.com. That's all for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate it as always. Remember, subscribe for good vibes, kiss the ones you love, and go after the life you want. I'll see you back here next Tuesday. Cheers.